But this one's titled Annual Bitcoin Maintenance. And I wanted to do this earlier in the year, but I figured what better time than near the end of the year when people are starting to get wrap up their year, I guess. All the things that they've been putting off for a while now. That's kind of just the first part of December's for me anyways. And I'm guessing there's more people out there. Or early January when people have a lot of motivation to get things done. So I want to share this because I really do think that this is important. I think that there's going to be a lot of people over these next 5-10 years who fail to do the things that need to be done and are going to pay dearly for that. And we had a pretty interesting conversation in the Maple Bitcoin happy hour yesterday. And we were talking about how many Bitcoin are actually lost and how many Bitcoin will be lost in the next little while. It's pretty scary. And so what I want to try to do with this is to share a resource that you can bookmark, you can hang on to, and you can repeat every year to really make your Bitcoin security setup as robust as possible. So I'm going to bring this up here. I got a little spreadsheet here started anyways, and we'll finish it together. Wow, Jor. I got my nice Maple Bitcoin hoodie on today. I got two of them actually. You might think, Jor, you're wearing the same hoodie as yesterday. Different one. Actually, it's funny. One's a large, one's a medium. But going to a birthday supper tonight. It's Arnie's birthday on Monday. So we're going to see my 85-year-old grandma here in the next hour or so and have some fresh pickerel with her. And apparently she baked a cake, so we'll see how it turns out. Hopefully it's not carrot cake. But she's a caterer, so she knows her stuff. Okay, so this one we're talking about Bitcoin maintenance here. So think about this like you'd get an oil change in your car. Probably not once a year, hopefully. Although there's been years where I've stretched her out as long as I could. But it's a Honda, so it's good with that kind of stuff. So a couple of the key points here, I think, before we get into the actual maintenance stuff that we're going to go through here is take a little bit of time right now and set a reminder in your phone. And you can do it in mid-December, like right now, early December, or you can do it in early January, whenever you think that you're actually going to have some time and you're actually going to do it. And make it like a repeat annually and just put like, and I put and reference it too. So don't just put like Bitcoin maintenance, have like a Word document or bookmark this video or something like that and actually include that in the title or the contents of your calendar reminder. Otherwise you're gonna be like, what the hell does that mean? If you're anything like me, if you ever make annual maintenance or annual reminders, 360, a lot of times it was after a couple too many beers, but I've just had some random things in my phone that I had set to like an annual reminder. And I'm like, I have no idea what this means. It was like Chinese, foreign, like code. So be very clear with it. I'll just say that. I don't want to spend too much time here on the obvious things, but that's what has helped me and hurt me in the past. Second one here is keep it very simple. I'm going to give you a list here that I think you should be checking on and part of your maintenance schedule. But if it's too much, simplify it. But don't just completely write it off. If I had 10 things, even if you did 3 of them, you're going to be in a better spot than if you did 0 of them. So figure out what's best for you, figure out what your own threat model is, and just keep it as simple as possible. And the third one here, you're taking time, you're taking your energy here. You're probably going to say, yeah, I should do that. But it means nothing unless you actually do it. So I actually should have a couple more exclamation marks here. I get some Christmas tunes playing in the background here. It's kind of soothing. I had a video on I was watching, and then it just must have auto-played to the next one. And I get some really calm Christmas music, a little piano playing in the background. So I'm in the spirit. And it is, what is it here right now? It is freaking cold. Minus 34. Minus 34. Extreme cold from right now till tomorrow at noon. Yellow warning, whatever that is. I guess it's not red, but it's extreme cold warning. So I'm in the Christmas spirit right now. Anyways, let's get her going here. Let's, I wanted to just start her off here. Security audit. Which I think is just a good these next two, maybe I'll put both these here right beside each other, which is kind of like an emergency drill. And I think that these should be kind of hand in hand. And it really depends how long you've been in Bitcoin, how many wallets you have. This might be very simple for some. It might be a little bit more complex for others. But just kind of think about everything you did when you set up your Bitcoin wallets. And some people might still have their Bitcoin on their phone or on their laptop, whatever it is. But just kind of take an inventory and say, where's the device? Can I access it? Where's the recovery phrase? How many copies of it? Is there any risk of me holding my recovery phrase at this spot? Because if somebody finds that recovery phrase, as we know, they are now a co-owner of your Bitcoin. So I'm sure you thought of it before, but I still think it's a good idea just to maybe you procrastinate like I do once in a while, and maybe you just haven't done it yet. So that's what I would say to the security audit here is just kind of think about where all your contents are. Do they make sense? Could you improve them? Do I need to retract any of them? Essentially, I've had to retract recovery phrase before, just because I wasn't aware of it. But it's one of those things where I've repeated this 500 times now, but I really hope we're at the point of people not keeping their device and their recovery phrase in the same location. And I know for a fact, I shouldn't say for a fact, but I know just by me repeating this so many times that I think it's drilled into your head now. And I don't think anybody's keeping their recovery phrase right underneath their cold card. But just in case there is, this is going to be your reminder not to be doing that. Emergency drill. This one's a little bit more, I wouldn't say optional, but this is something that you should just stop, take 10 minutes and think about. If somebody broke into my house, what could they do? If my house burnt down, what would happen to my Bitcoin? If the police came into my house, what could they get? If the government came to my house, what could they get? If a criminal from Singapore came into my house, knew I had Bitcoin, what could they get? And actually play through that. Play through them actually showing up at the door, busting through the door. I know it sounds crazy. I know it sounds insane, but these are the kind of things that we are going to have to worry about over this next decade here. Hopefully not beyond, but for the next decade probably. So just kind of go through. I know I've talked about the visualization stuff and kind of like the simulations of this, but just think about it. Think about all the things that could go wrong. If you have a list, this would actually be a good idea to keep your list with your audit. Maybe you make a little document here every year that you do, checklist, whatever that may be, and have like your threats and then your counters to that. That's an episode we did earlier, and you might want to revisit that one as well. I don't know the number of it, but it shouldn't be too hard to find. The next one here, this one's actually pretty simple, but pretty damn important. Back up your labels. So if you have Sparrow and you've been sending transactions into your Sparrow wallet that might be connected to your cold card or whatever, every time you receive Bitcoin, you usually put like a label on there. And so I've also made a video talking about how to back up your labels, so I don't want to waste any time here, but make sure you do this at least once a year. I would recommend doing it maybe every quarter, but at least you should be doing this once a year just in case something happens. Because again, even if something happens to your laptop tomorrow and you had your recovery phrase written down, your 12 words, your 24 words, you still would be able to recover your Bitcoin. No problem. But you would not be able to recover your labels. All those would be gone. So, or yeah, if you lost your laptop, if somebody stole it, if it just stopped working one day, all of your labels will be gone. So try to do this quarterly, but I would say at least annually. Same kind of thing here with if you are somebody who runs a Bitcoin node, you should be backing up your node. And I haven't done a video on that. I might try to squeeze one in here in the next couple of weeks about backing up your node. But yeah, it's tough because I know not everybody's running a node here and I don't want to waste people's time, but it's pretty simple to do. So if you need help with that, maybe just ask AI, look on YouTube. I don't know, but I'm sure you've done it before, but just make sure you're doing that. These two would kind of be ideally done quarterly, but at a minimum annually. The next one here is do a restore. Restore your device. Restore on a fresh device. And every time I've been telling people to buy a cold card lately, I tell them to get two, because you go through the process of setting up the cold card one, you write down your recovery phrase, you do what you need to do, export the keys to Sparrow, and then you have a second one there. And you could actually use that second one to type in your 12 or 24 words that you had written down. You want to make sure that they're spelled properly. You want to make sure that you can read them. You could even get your spouse to do a recovery of that. That would be a great idea. If you could get your spouse to try and recover your device. The nice thing about doing it with cold, and I know it's kind of expensive to spend like $250 to make sure that your device works, but I would say that it's worth it. Number one. But also the other thing too is like you're probably going to use that cold card in the future. You're probably going to use it in a multi-sig or whatever that is. But I think this would really be this. You could kind of tie these two in together in terms of an emergency drill where somebody broke into your house, stole your cold card, or you unexpectedly, got into a car accident. Maybe you lost your memory or you have a hard time remembering things. This is a really good idea to make sure that your spouse can actually read your words, that they're written down correctly, and you can do it all offline. That's the reason I suggest doing using a cold card for that. Because the alternative there is you could actually try recovering it into like a Sparrow wallet, but then of course those keys are now exposed online. So it's a pretty expensive test, but I think it's very much worth doing. And you could probably do this once a year too, just to kind of keep your spouse in the loop or your kids or whoever's in your life. The next one here is send a transaction. And you can either send one here or not. But the point is you want to make sure that you can actually log into log into your cold card. You remember how to set up a transaction. You remember how to save it onto the SD card, put it into your cold card, take it out, load it back in your laptop, sign it, broadcast it. But that's why I put send here, because you actually don't have to send it. You could actually go through the whole process there of logging into your cold card, setting up a transaction in Sparrow, setting the fee, saving that transaction onto a SD card or using the QR code if you have a cold card queue, saving that transaction onto the SD card, loading it into your cold card, signing it. That's the key in this whole part. Signing it to make sure that everything's connected, everything's in sync, and you know what you're doing. Sign it, load the SD card back in the laptop, and it'll show up as a signature there. And as long as you can press that broadcast button, you're good. That's what I mean. You don't actually have to send the Bitcoin. If you don't want to waste fees or if you don't want to create any more audit trails or whatever, you don't actually have to send the transaction. You can just get to that point in Sparrow where the broadcast button is lit up, and then you can just delete the file on the SD card. You could delete the window on your Sparrow wallet, but you at least prove that you can sign the transaction and move your Bitcoin. So I think even this is probably the most important one, honestly, in this whole thing. I think people should be doing this at least once per year, minimum. And I know there's a lot of people out there who don't spend Bitcoin a lot. They don't send Bitcoin. There's somebody who got a cold card. They set it up. Maybe they had somebody help them out with it. So they didn't really know what they were doing. They got it done. And then they just have been sending Bitcoin into that wallet, but they've never actually sent a Bitcoin transaction. This is a really good exercise. I would say that these two right here are probably the most important in terms of your actual Bitcoin security and your ability to move the Bitcoin and verify your ownership. And if something were to happen to you, your family would still have the ownership of that Bitcoin. And then just in case you haven't yet, create or update your inheritance plan. And something I said quite earlier in the course here is that you should have a piece of paper, just a blank piece of paper with a little bit of instructions, maybe in terms of like maybe where the device is, where the recovery phrase is, a couple things like that if you want to, or you just have a conversation with your spouse. But then you just put, if something happens to be unexpectedly, this is who you can contact. You'll just need the device, or you'll need the 12 words, you know where they are, something like that. And you can say cousin Ed or Jor or whoever. friend from work who's a Bitcoiner. Whoever you trust most in your life with your Bitcoin, put them as a contact and say, reach out to them. They'll help you to recover the Bitcoin. They'll tell you what to do. But then, of course, everybody knows this too. This is a very important part of it. And I'm going to bold and underline this. Do not share the 12 or 24 words with anyone. They do not need to know. Bold, underline, bigger font, maybe even, but that's a very important part of that. That's how you can get away with doing that. Because otherwise you're trusting your cousin, you're trusting your coworker, you're trusting me that I'm not going to try to convince your family members that they have to tell me their 12 words in order for me to help them do it. So I actually might share this on, YouTube because I think this is actually very beneficial for people and good information here. So that's what I got for you today. I guess if you're watching this on YouTube, thanks for watching. I'm going to wrap it up right here. If you feel like supporting, you want to send a little Christmas gift to Arnie Boy, you can send it there if you learned anything or this helped you in your journey. And yeah, we'll talk to you on the next one.